Hello friends, welcome back to the Life Reset Collective. This YouTube channel is dedicated to people who are needing to reset their life. Today we're talking about becoming a warrior when you are resetting your life. And this topic is important if you feel like you struggle with courage, strength, fortitude, if the weight of your life reset, going through changes, all of the things that you are going through, if it presses heavily down upon you and you find yourself anxious, worried, you find yourself not quite knowing what to do, it might be because you have been knocked down and that warrior next step hasn't quite kicked in yet. Now, there are many different steps to be taken when you're going through a life reset. And just to introduce myself, my name is Josh. I've been through complete life reset twice, both times due to divorce. However, this channel isn't specifically relegated to total life reset due to divorce. You might be starting over because you lost your home. You might have lost a loved one. You might have lost a job. Maybe you got into some legal problems and they wiped you out. Maybe you had a disease diagnosis or a big hospital bill. There are many reasons that can lead humans to need to completely reset, and it is a lonely and difficult and arduous experience, and that's what this channel is dedicated to. So if you're going through a life reset, hit that subscribe button, because I try to make a video every week. And right now I'm going through my second life reset, and thankfully I'm a lot better equipped now to handle it, and I'm kind of documenting some of these things as I go through them. So for the last month or so, I've been stuck in a zone that I kind of call a defensive zone. And basically, this is a zone characterized by fear. If you're in the zone, you're going to feel afraid, unknowns for what's to come. You're going to feel worried that there are things left unresolved. You're going to feel anxiety. You're going to feel sad, alone, depressed, because your life is in a chaotic vortex of mess as you're going through this reset. But what can we do about it? How can we start to solve it? Well, there's an element of this that requires many different steps. So for example, finding grounding, finding peace, finding safety, beginning to get your resources sorted out and in order, right? Getting your money figured out, getting your shelter figured out, right? We have basic needs. We have to see to those things first, basically food, water, shelter. We need to figure out a way to live in a sustainable fashion while we begin to get our feet underneath us. And this is oftentimes kind of the first step. We want to secure these things, right? Then we move on to other things like emotional stability, emotional safety. Are you in, well, hopefully you're in physical safety, right? If you have shelter, food, clothing, you're in a place where you physically can be safe. This is absolutely step number one a lot of times. Emotional safety is another thing. So are you in a place, for the most part, where you're not being just emotionally crushed every day back into a little pile? This is a really important step, and that's not what this video is about, that step, but we're assuming that you've kind of gone through that, because if you're still in that stage, friend, you're going to be in defense mode. You're going to be feeling the pain of that situation, and that's going to compound complications moving forward. So we want to try to get ourselves to a point where we can actually launch from like a peaceful zone. And I want to tell you right now, I don't judge anyone going through a life reset. I don't really care what the circumstances were. I'm not saying I don't care in the sense that I don't care about you. I'm saying I don't care in the sense that I'm not here to judge you. This channel is not about judgment. This isn't about you should have known better. This isn't about I told you so. This channel is about providing practical, helpful, positive, supporting steps and guidance and reassurance and encouragement along this very difficult journey that you have ahead of you. So that's what this is about. There's no judgment coming from me here, and I don't want you to judge yourself. That's another step we should take, is a step of self-forgiveness, right? We've got to start forgiving ourselves. We have to try to not get hung up on this self-loathing, self-blame, guilt, chronic guilt, things like that. Now, if we can get ourselves to a somewhat stable position, this doesn't mean stable forever. It probably won't be. You probably won't know real stability until you've climbed out of the hole. And that's what the life reset is. You get into a hole of some kind. For me, it's divorce. So I've got these legal hurdles. I've got these physical hurdles. I've got these emotional hurdles, even spiritual hurdles that I have to overcome before my life is going to look anything close to normal again. And you're going to have your own types of hurdles, but we have to launch from a platform of relative stability, safety, right? We have to have a platform to launch from. If you try to embark on this journey hungry, weak, and tired, it's going to be way more difficult than if you first eat, nourish yourself, get good water, clothe yourself well, get a good walking stick. Now you're ready to attack the journey ahead. That's what I'm talking about in this video. Adopting a warrior mindset. Now, this video or this channel isn't so much about making combat metaphors. And the reason for that is because I don't want to point fingers at people and say, you need to try harder, you need to do more, you need to fight harder. Because the truth is, I don't actually believe that that's always the case. I think that when you're getting beat up in your life, going through a life reset, and you're going to get beat up, you are probably experiencing it. The last thing I think you need is someone yelling at you in a video saying, you need to get on top of this, you need to go to war. I think that this is very cliche and unhelpful most of the time. And that coming from someone who used to subscribe to that, I used to be a big fan of that type of content, and I'd watch it. And there were times when I've made that in the past, but now having gone through this twice, I realize that there's just no place for that sometimes. But very rarely that metaphor does stick in a way that I find is helpful. And this is one of those times. And so we have to get to a point where we are ready. So that's the finding safety, finding grounding, finding physical and emotional safety, shelter, food, clothing. If you have these things, you have maybe income coming in, right? Your resources are at least stable, so you're not in like a scarcity situation. If you're trying to scrounge for food, this next step is going to be very hard. So securing money, securing your food, right? You want to get to a point where you're not really stressed about these things. Maybe you're not getting ahead. That's okay. We just don't want to be stressed and in scarcity. So we get halfway through the journey, we run out of money or run out of food. We want to try to get that stuff rolling so that it's at least even, right? Don't have to be getting ahead. We're not trying to get rich right now. We're trying to get one step above base survival right now. Trying to build a little bit of storage so that we have something for tomorrow, so that we don't have to stress about tomorrow. We can think about what we have to do today, right? So get one step above survival mode. And then here's what I mean. Adopt a warrior's mindset to begin overcoming the hurdles of your life reset. There's going to come a time on your journey where you're going to have to start making forward momentum. There's going to come a time when finding safety in the hole is going to begin to have diminishing returns. There's an element to where the longer you kind of stay put in your situation, then you can kind of prepare better. And sometimes this is to your benefit. But then there comes a time when drawing it out becomes dangerous. It becomes dangerous because you have potential that's being wasted being in this place. It's because you have a life that you deserve at the other end of this that's not going to be lived until you get out of this situation, right? And you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about, because when you're stuck in this situation, whatever your situation is, for me, it's the kind of the limbo of trying to get divorce done and move on with my life. Things are stalling out, right? That kind of thing. So it's like we have to get the momentum going to the best of our ability. And that's that warrior mindset pushing forward. So what you want to do is you want to think to yourself, what can I be doing to further the goals, okay? And then this comes back to kind of making a plan. I've talked in previous videos about that it's important to make a plan. And it is important to make a plan. We need to kind of make a plan for how we're going to rise above our circumstances. We should have a plan for the future. We should have hopes for the future too. We should identify hope. We should figure out what kind of future we want. We should place a beacon in our future. That's what I want to go for. And we should make some plans about how we're going to get there. And then at some point we need to start making really granular plans, like really today focused, tomorrow focused, next week focused. What can I be doing every day? Do I have an extra hour or two that I could be spending? What are the best things I could be spending them on? Starting to climb out of this hole. For a lot of people, and I'm going to be really honest, in a lot of situations, this is going to mean how can I get more money faster? Because there are a lot of life reset situations that, to be really honest, the biggest factor is really money. It costs money to get divorced. It costs money to pay down hospital bills. It costs money to get a new place to live. It costs money to be able to afford the time to apply for and get that new job or that new career started, right? There are very few things that are going to be hindered by you seeking out additional income. And so a lot of times that's going to kind of be the next thing. That's why I went out and I got a second job, not too long ago, because it's like, okay, I am working my day job. This is good. We can make so much progress this way, but I want to go faster. I want to make more progress. I want to build my safety net better. So boom, go out to get second job, 20 more hours a week working nights. Now I have that extra income coming in. This gives me greater security, but it also helps me to plan better for the future, execute better on my plans faster. I'm going to have more money to work with, to do more things to help me begin to climb out of this hole that I'm in, this hole of the life reset, right? Because when we fall into the hole, that's when we know it's time to reset, right? That's when the bad thing happens. We fall into a hole. We need to escape it. Now, this is also very beneficial because when you start making forward progress, meaningful forward progress, and you start accomplishing little goals along the way toward climbing out of the hole, this is going to help you emotionally and psychologically. You're going to start to think, you know what? I can do this. I'm making progress. There's hope here. And that is what I want for you more than anything else, is hope, because what we need is hope. Hope is the thing that we live on when we're in a hard situation. Without hope for the future, there's no motivation to go forward. We cannot have courage, really. We can have no determination. The strength just leaves us if we feel like all of our efforts are for nothing. But if you have hope, you can do things that you would never have dreamed of. You can work, you can overcome obstacles, you can do all the things that you need to do to get your life back on track. There may be many hoops to jump through, there may be a lot of work to do, there may be a lot of complications to overcome, a lot of challenges to navigate. But friend, if you have hope and you just accomplish some things every day and try to get a little forward momentum every day in this warrior mentality phase, this is going to help you so much with compounding positives. Like today, I just did some things in my situation that give me huge hope. It's like, okay, we're actually getting things done. We're moving forward. The plans that I have laid out for my life, they're actually moving forward. In fact, maybe in like 1 week, 2 weeks, one of the big plan goals will be checked off. This is a huge step toward getting out of this awful rut and onto the next phase of life, right? This is what you are probably saying to yourself as you approach a goal. You're thinking to yourself, it would feel so good to get this big goal checked off my list. And then that's a big step toward getting back to life, getting back to real life, a life where I can actually start to move in a forward positive direction. And friends, let me just tell you this, just because you're in a hole, going through a life reset, going through these hard things doesn't mean you don't have a life or that you can't have a life. I also want to make that very clear. Sometimes I get into this mindset of like my whole life is on hold while I'm trying to get out of this hole that I'm in. And this is, in a way, a mindset I've realized, and I just actually realized that this week to a big extent about myself. This is a mindset that holds me back a lot. And it might be a mindset that's holding you back. The truth is, I can have a life while I'm here. I can begin to build a life, even here in the bottom of this hole, and I can take that with me as I begin to climb. And to be honest, it might help me. This might mean making new friends. This might mean going to support group. This might mean starting a passion project. If you have the time and you can afford the time and resources, it might mean starting a passion project, writing something, filming something, playing an instrument. This might mean getting more involved in your faith or getting involved in a faith to begin with, right? So whatever it looks like for you, maybe it means even something as silly, seemingly silly, as starting a new show and then making that a thing that you can look forward to every day when you watch an episode of your show. I know that might seem like a little thing when we're talking about these big life problems, but friend, if there's something that you can grab onto that's going to create some happiness and hope and help you to emotionally deal with the problems that you're facing, that's not silly, that's not nothing. That actually might be an important part of your journey forward. It might be fuel for you to help you overcome. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. At the end of the day, the steps are very simple. Get your survival sorted out. Get one level above survival so that you can start making some kind of forward progress. Make your goals, make your plans, and then start chipping away at that climb. Start now. That mountain isn't going anywhere. The only way we're going to get over it is if we start to climb it. And generally on this channel, I'm not about pressuring you to do anything. I'm not about pressuring you to push. I'm not trying to push you. I'm not trying to make you feel pressure, like, oh, you should be doing more. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. I am trying to encourage you, though. I want to see you over that mountain. I want to see this bad situation behind you. I don't want you to get stuck here. And I don't want you to live here for 10 years, 5 years, 18 months, whatever. I don't want you to live here any longer than you have to, because at the other end of that mountain, over that mountain, is a whole new life. A life where you are not held back by all the stuff that drug you down in the first place. There's a life of hope, there's a life of happiness, there's a life of possibility over there that I want for you. I want that for myself. That's the whole goal, is to get to that point. And we're going to do the best we can as we work toward it. Maybe we can only take 1 or 2 little steps every day, but at least that's something that can make you feel proud of yourself about. And that's another part of it. When you start to take those little steps, embrace that warrior mentality, because sometimes you're a warrior just by taking 1 step forward. And when you start to do that, you're going to start to believe in yourself more, and you're going to start to feel so much more brave, and you're going to start to realize that you are actually out stronger than you probably think you are. And you might realize that the time has come to pick up your camp at the bottom of the hole and begin the slow climb out of it. It might be time. I would encourage you to do a little thinking, do a little soul searching, and see if it might be time for you to begin that journey. Thank you so much for coming back for another one of my videos. My name is Josh. This is the Life Reset Collective. I will see you awesome people on the next one.